How we doing, Jets fans? How we doing? I'm Glenn Naughton with Jet Nation Radio, jetnation.com. Be sure to log into jetnation.com where you can register and become a part of what is the most active Jets message board on the web. And my goodness, is this quite the story from out of nowhere. And there's a saying that I heard many years ago that I really like. The price of success is to bear the criticism of envy. And that's what Sauce Gardner's dealing with right now a little bit and dealing with it quite well, if we're being honest. And seeing some of the interactions on Twitter. If you're not sure what I'm talking about, former New England Patriots cornerback Asante Samuel, Patriots, Eagles, really good player, Pro Bowler, All Pro, all that. But listen, he's been out of the league for a long time. Not really a guy in the news who gets talked about because his playing days are done, so there's really not a lot of interest in him. Um, but he's upset because Sauce Gardner, arguably the top corner in the NFL, was named the number 2 corner in the NFL by a poll of players, executives, GMs, coaches, everybody. And Asante Samuel, with all of these insiders, coaches, and all this naming Sauce the number 2 corner in the NFL, he goes after Sauce. You know, what did Sauce ever do to anyone? All the guy does is play damn good football and set a great example for kids. If you haven't watched his documentary, by the way, check it out. Incredible kid. So Asante Samuel though can't bear the fact that a young corner, who, let's face it, in his first year is a better player than Samuel. So it's very early, but the trajectory has him on a path to be a better player. Has him on a path to be a better corner than most guys that ever played the game, if we're being honest. So Asante Samuel, and this is where it's funny because it just shows the complete lack of awareness. And I said that I tweeted out, I'm kind of glad. I've been waiting for this to happen because it doesn't happen very often. But every once in a while, you get a tweet or a comment or a quote from a former player that is so bizarre and so off the wall and so disconnected from reality that I like to, remind people that don't fall into that trap of like, well, this guy played in the league, so he knows what he's talking about. And I'm not talking about like X's and O's and what it takes to be in the NFL. So I used to make the point all the time. Probably haven't said it in a while, but I used to say all the time on our show, look, I'm a fan. I love football. I love talking about football. I love doing this as a way to engage with fellow Jets fans living outside the U.S. So I would never pretend that I know as much about playing in the NFL as any NFL player, coach, whatever. Right? They are the subject matter experts. But sometimes when it comes to very basic observations about the game itself, you get winners like this. Asante Samuel tweeted out that Darrelle Revis wasn't that good. Yet first ballot Hall of Famer Darrelle Revis, who famously, we've all seen the graphic, had that year where he faced 6 or 7 Hall of Fame receivers, held every one of them under 35 yards. And Asante Samuel is saying that he was never that good. I mean, listen, when you're on that level of a Sauce, of a Revis, it's crazy to think about it, right? Because Asante Samuel, really good player in his own right. Asante Samuel is a guy, a couple Super Bowls, Pro Bowls, all that stuff. But even jealousy even gets to him. Like, damn, here's this young corner who in 1 year has accomplished far more than I did in my first few years. And again, will likely far surpass anything he's ever done. And I'm talking about on an individual level. I'm not going to talk about Asante Samuel. Like, yeah, he got some Super Bowls. A lot of guys on Tom Brady's roster got Super Bowls. It just that happened. But listen, he was a guy, 51 career picks, really good player. But he sees a young corner, a young up and coming corner. So he comes up with this delusional thought process that Sauce Gardner is only getting attention because of the New York media. As if, as if the New York Jets aren't a regular punching bag for the media, be it national, be it local, be it, even if you want to talk about the blogger, vlogger level, there's never a shortage of people making fun of the Jets, bashing the Jets, comparing them to the other teams, either whether it's teams within their division or the success the Giants have had while the Jets haven't. The Jets are regularly a media punching bag. And if anything, their players get downgraded. We've already seen you know, well, I don't know if respected is the right word. We've seen well-known writers, personalities that now slamming the move to get Aaron Rodgers, right? Aaron, oh, what Bill Barnwell was it? They should have signed Teddy Bridgewater. That would have been the better move. Like if any other team in the NFL had added Aaron Rodgers, it would have been universally applauded, praised. It would everyone would be doing backflips. The Jets do it, and you get they should have signed Teddy Bridgewater. The Jets have acquired Aaron Rodgers, and I'm not even going to say his name. There's some horrible, horrible people out there. Very, very well paid, horrible people who say incredibly stupid stuff because it gets them money. And with Asante Samuel, listen, I don't know what he's doing nowadays. I don't know if he's because again, I'm not in the US. I don't have all the sports channels. I wouldn't watch them anyway. I get enough from yeah, exactly. Whatever Bill Barnwell's opinion is, assume the opposite is true. Definitely the case with the Aaron Rodgers situation. But so I don't know. Asante Samuel might be a regular on a show somewhere. I have no idea. I honestly don't. And listen, I get it. Like anyone who likes Asante Samuel or doesn't like the Jets or doesn't like me or whatever, you know, well, the natural comeback is Glenn. Who the hell are you? You're an idiot fan. You do a podcast. Nobody cares. You get a couple hundred listens. Who gives a damn? I get all that. I get all that. But as I said, I'm a fan. I like talking football with fellow Jets fans. I'm talking about a guy in Asante Samuel who was sort of, top of the athletic world, high level performer, Super Bowl winner. And then this petty, out of nowhere commentary on Sauce Gardner, on Darrell Revis. And look, I love some of Sauce's responses. Said, look, if you want to tell me what to do, because, Asante Samuel's telling Sauce, here's what I need to see from you. I'm going to be watching. You better get some interceptions, whatever. And Sauce is like, look, man, I hold myself to a standard. My coaches hold me to a standard. I'm not here to please you. And you could have done this the right way, like all the other former corners, and just message me privately. But Asante Samuel, but let's think about this for a second. Again, no idea what he's doing nowadays. He might be a regular. I don't know what show he's on, if he's on any shows. But think about what he's saying. Like he does realize the New York market is huge. He's got to realize Sauce is a very talented player. So and listen, if this was his aim, it worked. I'm sitting here talking about him, right? I'm sitting here talking about Asante Samuel. Maybe he's looking at this thinking, look, I'm not really in the news anymore. I'm not really a thing. But here's a young kid who plays in a big media market. Let me go after him and trash him. And while I'm at it, let me call their first ballot Hall of Fame corner overrated to get my name out there and get people talking, right? No such thing as bad publicity. Sometimes it's just about saying the right things to get in the news. And Asante Samuel, he's tipping his hand, showing that he's saying that, he understands the power of the New York market while completely failing to realize that the New York market has very little or no love for the New York Jets. Minus a couple of objective voices. So maybe this is Asante Samuel's way of getting his name out there, and here it worked. Congratulations, Asante. It's everyone's all over Twitter talking about it. I'm doing this. I'm sure other folks will hop on and do quick podcasts and talk about Asante Samuel. Hater says great job. Truth be told, Sauce is taking it better than us Jets fighters. I agree. Sauce is a good player in person. Absolutely. Listen, Hater. Oh, sorry. Yeah, sorry, I don't have my glasses on, so I wasn't sure if I was reading the name right. But yeah, listen, Sauce, I talked to Dylan Terman about this a couple times. I've talked to a couple people about this. I really think a lot of the terminology, a lot of the ways we hear coaches describe players nowadays is sort of, take it with a grain of salt. Like, of course, every coach loves every player and they have great things to say and this and that. But I've heard Robert Saleh refer to Sauce Gardner as an old soul, which you think, okay, how true is it? You don't know. You see him on game dates. You see him do a couple minutes of interviews. But if you watch that special, like I said, check it out. Go to YouTube, search Sauce Gardner biography, whatever he called it. It'll come up and watch it. And Sauce Gardner he's a very mature dude. He talks like an older person and, going back to his old neighborhood and reflecting. And, for me, for an old guy like me, it was a little bit funny because I'm like, here's a guy who's in his early 20s talking about how he hasn't been back to his old neighborhood in a long time. And in reality, it's probably been a few years, right? But in Sauce's world and his life, that's a long time because he's a young kid. For an old guy like me, a couple of years, not a big deal. But just hearing Sauce reflect, look back at, his upbringing, his neighborhood, his school, his coaches, his teachers, and just doing it the way you would expect an older, more mature person to do it. And I remember as I was watching that, I was like, I kind of get what Robert Saleh means. I get that Saleh's saying like Sauce is an old soul and he's a good kid. And that's why the responses you're seeing on Twitter, where he's just like, hey man, you could have messaged me privately. Like, what's your issue with me? And for anyone, and we've been seeing it really from very early in the year. The Sauce Gardner hate got ratcheted up right away. People didn't like him for whatever reason. Again, being on the Jets, people like to try to make a joke out of everything the Jets do. Let's see. Yeah, Barnwell is and listen, I can't honestly say that I remember a lot of Bill Barnwell's takes. And sometimes people have to put out these silly takes because now the name sticks, right? Like I kind of know the name, but if you'd asked me a few weeks ago, tell me anything Bill Barnwell's ever said, I wouldn't know. But now I'm aware of the fact that he said Teddy Bridgewater is a better option than Aaron Rodgers. And I get that he was talking, big picture. He was saying, the money and cap space and all that, but still, he was wrong. And he doubled down. He was wrong, and that happens. And Asante Samuel is wrong. Asante Samuel is saying that Sauce Gardner is only getting recognized by coaches, by players, by executives. Mike, ask me where I'm at. I'm in England, Mike. Born and raised in New York. Well, born in New York, raised all over the place. Family moved a lot, and but thanks for asking. I'm in England. I digress. So, but Sauce for Asante Samuel to come along and just out of nowhere go after Sauce Gardner, question Darrelle Revis. It really just reeks of like a once great athlete whose career's over, not a big news guy, but watching others, like watching his peer in Revis go to the Hall of Fame on the first ballot, and then watching a guy like Sauce have the success he'd had in year one for really a division rival, a team he played against a lot. He probably doesn't have a lot of respect for the Jets. Most people don't. So it's probably bothering Asante Samuel. Like, the guy who's better than me is in the Hall first, and now here's this young kid who in year one is an All-Pro. What's the first in 42 years, something ridiculous like that. So look, jealousy, envy, it's ugly. I get if this is Asante Samuel's way to sort of get himself on the radar and get him talked about. Like I said, congratulations, it worked. But just remember, folks, and that was my immediate reaction. I can't. Every now and then, it doesn't happen often, but every once in a while, a former NFL player will say something that just makes me go, you know what? Like, yes, you superior. I don't. If you're on a damn practice squad, you're an elite athlete. I'm not questioning anyone as an athlete. I'm not questioning anyone's knowledge of the X's and O's and getting on the field and playing the game. Those guys would, as the saying goes, those guys have forgotten more than most fans know about the game. I'm not sitting here trying to say that I know the game better than any former NFL players. But some of them and their takes are atrocious. And it's, let's see. Okay, here's the most recent one prior to Asante Samuel today. Remember Alex Smith after the Aaron Rodgers move? Actually, no, I'm sorry. This was in season. This was the Zach Wilson thing. The Jets they just drafted him and hoped for the best, and they didn't get him any support. Like, how many linemen did they draft? How many receivers did they draft? Like, Zach failed. And they were building and building and building. They were surrounding him with talent. They had a Brees Hall, Michael Carter, Garrett Wilson, Elijah Moore, Elijah Vera Tucker. And then you get this former player who everyone always says to me, well, he's a player, so he would know. How are you going to question what a former player says? And you had Alex Smith come out and go, oh, yeah, the Jets haven't done anything to help him. And listen, I'm getting old. If I'm wrong and it wasn't Alex Smith, you can Google it, find who said it, and tell me I'm an idiot. But you do on occasion. And so that was probably the most recent absolutely ridiculous thing a former player has said until today. Asante Samuel saying Sauce Gardner is only getting his recognition because he plays in New York and that Darrelle Revis wasn't that good. It's absolutely bonkers. If he meant it, he's out of his mind. If he's doing it to get us to talk about him, which worked, congratulations. Either way, Sauce is a beast. Revis at his best was one of the best of all time, as evidenced by the first ballot Hall of Fame election. So that's it for this one. Just wanted to get that off my chest. The delusion that some of these people live in where they believe that the New York media loves the Jets and they pump up their players is just absolute lunacy. That'll do it for me. Have a good one.